Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Today on the show, we have the CEO of Big Gold, Scott Walters. Scott's joining us today to give us his take on the debt ceiling and what it means for gold, his read on inflation, what's happening over at Big Gold from their latest acquisition to their strategy for exploration, and what to look out for with Big Gold this year. Hey, Scott, welcome back to The Dive. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Cassandra. Thank you so much for having us.
Okay, so Scott, a deal to increase the debt ceiling was reached this week. Do you think that this is bullish for gold?
I think we're going to see a continual depression in the value of the US dollar on a global basis. And I think we're going to see an increase in the amount of countries that are contributing to the BRICS new economy and a potential new currency. So I think on the backs of that major central bank buying that we've seen out of the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, I think we're going to see a continuation of that, and that's going to continue positive pressure on the price of gold. And I think the market should respond nicely to that for people with exposure to gold and gold exploration assets.
Now, inflation appears to be stickier than I think most people expected, including the bond market. As of this morning, the market's now pricing in a greater than 50% chance of a rate hike at the Fed's next meeting on June 14th. What is your read on inflation?
I think we're going to see inflation persist, and I think the Fed is really struggling with what they need to do and the tools that they have at hand to manage inflation and manage what they think will be a soft landing. But regardless, I think the pressure on the U.S. dollar, we're going to see an increase in valuations around gold and other precious metals as people really seek a safe haven other than the U.S. dollar.
What do you view as the key price levels for gold?
I think the key price levels for gold for investors are always the figures, so around $2,000. And I'm not a technical chartist by any stretch, but I think that anywhere around the $2,000 mark really captures people's attention. And a climb above 21 to 2,200 is going to signal a lot of danger for the U.S. dollar and probably see a real piling on the price of gold, which would put pressure on some of the gold trading banks like J.P. Morgan, et cetera. So we'll see what happens, but I think we'll see continued positive pressure.
Okay, so let's talk about Big Gold now. The stock has really come to life in a market where most juniors are struggling to gain attention. For our viewers new to the story, what's the high-level overview of Big Gold?
Sure. So the high-level overview of Big Gold is we're a very tightly capitalized company with a really good management team who owns about 35% of the stock. Recently, we've acquired in the beginning of April the Tabor Property, which is a 3,300-hectare property in the Thunder Bay district. And that's immediately adjacent to Goldshore Resources, which has a 6 million ounce resource that they're working on right now, and they're working towards a PEA for an open mine. To the northeast of us, we have Delta Resources, another fantastic Canadian team working on a gold exploration project. We feel that we're right in the middle of the trend. So at the beginning of April, when we announced our Tabor acquisition, the stock went from about 3 cents, and it's traded as high as 11 cents this week. And we recently completed a financing for the first tranche at 5 cents. So we're very excited to get the summer exploration program underway. We'll have boots on the ground next week, and we'll begin that program with a view to be drilling towards the end of the year.
You mentioned you recently acquired a new project in Ontario. What drew you to the property?
Well, the Martin Kenty Property was our original property, and we spent quite a considerable amount of time and money on that. We're still very positive on the expectations for that exploration property next to First Mining. That's in the Kenora district. What led us to the Tabor property was the great work that the teams at Goldshore and Delta have been doing. Brett Richards and his team at Goldshore have done incredible work over the last 2 years. And we were very fortunate to be able to acquire property immediately adjacent to their property and what we feel is on trend. So that for us was really the clutch of what we wanted to do there.
What is the strategy for exploration?
Well, the strategy for exploration now is to do what we've done since we started, which is maintain a very low cost and high impact exploration program. The advantage of the Tabor property, very similar to our Martin Kenty property, is it is on the Trans-Canada Highway. It's very close to population centers. We're only 70 kilometers from Thunder Bay, so we can fly people in very inexpensively from Toronto and other regions. Most of our team are in the Thunder Bay region, so they're 45 minutes from work in a pickup truck, and we have year-round access to the property. So we're going to begin doing our line cutting and soil sampling and rock assay collection right away. with a view to locating some targets for drilling, and we'll be hitting that later in the year.
How does Big Gold stand out in a world where there are thousands of juniors and limited capital?
Great question. I think our ability to attract capital and build a really good team around our technical managers, Bruce Durham and the team have an exceptionally good reputation in the industry. They've worked in this region for over 40 years. And I think we've been able to identify opportunities to find properties adjacent to more advanced exploration and development that gives us more tools in our toolbox to increase shareholder value and work towards a resource.
Okay, so one more question for you here, Scott. Do you have any timelines or milestones that investors should be watching for the remainder of the year?
Absolutely. Look for some news releases over the next few weeks. They're going to lay that out. I think we're going to have a very active news flow throughout the summer, including with our neighbors. It's a very active camp now up in the Thunder Bay district, and you've got three well-run companies with fantastic technical teams, shoulder to shoulder, working on that resource. So look for some good news coming out of that camp throughout the summer, and good news being activity and boots on the ground.
Okay, Scott, that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for coming on and updating us on Big Gold.
Thanks, Cassandra. Really appreciate talking to you, and thanks for your time.
To our audience at home, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoy content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button below me there so you don't miss out on our future videos.